Oh, okay. Hello, and now it's time to answer all your pressing, burning questions, such as, what the heck did I do to my face? The answer to that one is, I was wearing sandals that I should have thrown out long ago. See how broken and worn down they are? I can wear these, just around if I'm working in the garden, or I just need to go up and get my kid at the bus stop, and then you get to the bottom of your driveway and you face plant right into the sidewalk, and when your sandals get like that, you throw them out. It's not a matter of, being frugal. Then you'll have to pay Med Express to take you in at night after your head has been hurting for 5 hours. Yeah, I actually did throw these out right away. I just pulled them out of the garbage again to use them as a visual aid. Now for the questions that people actually asked me. When I asked for questions, which I mostly forgot to do, pretty much at first everyone asked the same question. Why on earth did I become a librarian? The truth of the matter is that I've wanted to be an author since I was 7 years old. That has been the main goal all through my childhood and growing up and so forth. But even when I was 7 years old, I knew somehow that I also needed a day job. I'd be a regular classroom teacher, a biochemist, be a photojournalist, I'd be a Broadway star, be a music teacher, be a traveling missionary. We had all these books, What You Want to Be When You Grow Up books, and we were supposed to pick through them and do a little report on one of them would be interested. And I picked the librarian one, and I noticed that it required, to be a proper librarian, it requires a master's degree. And at that point in my life, the idea of actually having more school to go to in the future, I mean, really? But I'd always been a bookworm, and so the library was always an important place to me, and I always liked to go there. And I spent most of high school trying to get a volunteer position or even a paid clerk position at the local library, and failing. And when I got into college, I did get a volunteer position in the library, and while I was there, I just looked around and said, this is where I want to work. This is the atmosphere I want to be in. At that point, I was majoring in English because I knew I wanted to be a writer. At that point, I switched my major to elementary education because I wanted to be a children's librarian, specifically. And so I decided right away that I would go directly to graduate school and get my MLIS, which I did, and then I became a school librarian for a while. I did try to have a day job as a teacher for a little bit. Mostly then I failed. School librarians have the same problem that classroom teachers have, in that they need to actually have classroom management skills, which I left the schools in a panic and just worked at the Children's Museum, where I worked during library school for the next few years until I had a baby, and then I couldn't commute all the way out to Pittsburgh for a minimum wage job with a small child. Finally, there was a very part-time position that opened in my local library, just as a regular reference librarian, not as a children's librarian, because it fit right into my schedule with Sammy as a baby. And then as the years went by, I started doing more with the children's program, and then finally when we got our new library, we had a circulation desk, reference desk, actually up in the children's section, so I get to spend all my time there now, and I'm officially a children's reference librarian with programming and stuff. Edie asked me to expound upon my intense hatred of Accelerated Reader, and I actually wrote a very long blog post about it once, so you can get the link and go read it yourself, which is what I actually sent to Edie right away, because it would take me an entire video to read that, essentially. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, you'll actually find that out in the blog post as well. And Jill then asked, if money was no object, how big would my home library be? That is a very interesting question. I suppose if money really was no object, I would be able to support authors, by buying their stuff, because normally I just borrow things from the library. But there would be a space issue, so I might just maybe buy everything on ebook that I want to read, and then buy hard copies of just the stuff I really, really, really like. No, just the stuff I really like, because the stuff I really, really, really like, I end up buying hard copies of anyway. In the end, Jill asked most of my questions, as she did Frida, because that's just the kind of interesting, questioning person she is. She asked where I wanted to travel the most, which I said in our travel videos. So the answer is basically everywhere. I'd like to go, I would not pass up a travel opportunity if it was practical. One place I really, 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 really need to go is the British Isles. I'd have to go at least twice, or just one really long trip. 2 separate pilgrimages. One, the literary pilgrimage, where I would go see all the houses and places and colleges of all the great writers, Austen, Tolkien, and Diana Wynne Jones. They have a statue up to her at Bristol yet. They should. Anyway, and then another pilgrimage, actually this one should probably be the first one, the music pilgrimage, where I'll probably spend most of the time in Liverpool doing all the really corny touristy things. Cheesy enough answer is I'm probably back to the Children's Museum. I go there all the time. I used to practically live there before I had children. Pittsburgh is a really beautiful city, which I know is hard to believe if you've really never, either if you've never really been there, or you have been there all the time and you take it for granted. And you take the incline up the hill and you just look at the point with the 3 rivers and all the shiny buildings and beautiful trees and hills and things. It's very nice. And then otherwise I just like to be out in pretty outdoorsy areas, if they're pretty. I don't know if you mean memory-wise, like a thing that happened, or just a life lesson that I've taught them. So either way, I most want them to remember the importance of kindness. Like, I always remember things about my parents. I always just know them as extremely good people, extremely kind people, and I remember all the instances of hospitality, just friendliness and helpfulness that they've shown me through the years, and also the things they've taught me in words. You should always smile at everyone you see, because it could be the only smile they see that day. The other day, you might have seen this on Twitter, but we were out and about running errands, and I took the kids to an ice cream stand, looking at the prices and looking at how much cash I actually had, because the ice cream stand only took cash, and trying to add things up and trying to get what they wanted. And the lady behind me said, "Oh, don't worry about it, get whatever you want, I'm paying for it." And she just jumped right in and told the lady in the thing what she wanted to get and made it all one order. I said, "Are you sure?" And she said, "Yeah." And I really tried to talk to them, to my kids, about, "Did you see what she did? She did something very nice for us. Did you thank her?" And so forth. And then I tried to say, "No, we need to pass it on. We're going to." I had $7 in my wallet. I was like, what can we do with this? And donate it. As we're driving along, just drop it off in the church offering. We ended up donating more than the $7, an entire book to the library. that says, "If you enjoy this book, pass it on. This is a random act of kindness" type thing. I hope they learn that, because there really aren't enough people like that in the world. think that's all the questions we have for tonight, and I'm not really sure how long this has been anyway. There were a lot of pauses, so I do wish I could edit out the large purple bruise on my chin, and it's been distracting you, but you know, I don't have a concussion, so be happy.